Right now, the moment you step away from that window, something changes in your yard. The squirrel you were watching drops the performance. Because almost everything you have ever seen a squirrel do, the frantic digging, the nervous glance over the shoulder, the burying and reburying, much of it was never meant for the world. It was staged for you. The real behavior, the private behavior, begins the instant it believes you are gone. And what it does in that moment is something researchers have only recently been able to record. Most people will live their entire lives and never see it. Tonight, we are going to decode 7 hidden behaviors that the squirrel in your yard performs only when it is certain no one is watching. 7 behaviors it actively conceals, the moment a pair of human eyes returns. Some of them are simply private, the small, vulnerable rituals every prey animal hides to survive. But behavior number 4 will change the way you understand the word intelligence, because what it reveals is not instinct. It is something closer to deception, deliberate, calculated, and aimed directly at an audience it knows is there. This is not speculation. It comes from controlled studies at institutions like Princeton, the University of Exeter, and the field research of Dr. Michael Steele, whose work on caching behavior has reshaped how science views the rodent mind. But the behavior I want you to wait for is number 7, because the first 6 are about what a squirrel does when it thinks you are gone. The 7th is about something far rarer. It is about the single moment when a squirrel stops hiding, when it performs its most private behavior while you are watching, and why, in the language of the animal itself, that moment means something we have spent our whole lives hoping to feel. So stay with me, because by the end of this, the next time you glance out at your yard and catch a squirrel going still, you will understand exactly what just happened in that small, precise mind. Let us begin with what the squirrel hides. When a gray squirrel believes it is unobserved, the first thing it does is something almost no one ever witnesses. It slows down. The animal you see in daylight, tense, twitching, perpetually scanning, is operating under what biologists call a state of vigilance. It is expensive. It burns energy, and it is, in part, a response to being watched. Remove the audience, and the body changes. The shoulders lower, the tail stops flagging, and the squirrel begins to groom, methodically for minutes at a time, exposing the soft underside of its throat and belly that it would never reveal under a watchful eye. This is behavior number 1, and it is the most honest thing a squirrel ever does. Behavior number 2 is the cache, but not the one you think you have seen. A single eastern gray squirrel can bury several thousand individual food items across a single autumn. And contrary to the old myth that they forget where they hid them, the evidence points the other way. Studies of spatial memory suggest these animals relocate their stores not by smell alone, but through a detailed cognitive map, a 3-dimensional mental model of the yard, accurate to within centimeters, retained for months. To build that map, the hippocampus, the memory center of the brain, physically changes with the seasons. It is one of the few documented cases in nature of a brain region measurably expanding to meet a cognitive demand and then quietly receding when the work is done. Now, here is where it becomes remarkable. Behavior number 3. When a squirrel is alone, it caches normally. It digs, it deposits, it covers, it moves on. Efficient, quiet, unhurried. But the moment it detects an observer, another squirrel, a bird or you, its behavior transforms. And this brings us to behavior number 4, the one I asked you to wait for, the deceptive cache. In a series of controlled observations, Dr. Steele and his colleagues documented something that, frankly, should not be possible in an animal we casually call a rodent. When gray squirrels believed they were being watched by a potential thief, they began performing false caches. They would dig a hole, pantomime the act of burying, cover it carefully, and walk away with the food still hidden in their mouth. An empty hole, a decoy, a lie told with the body. This is what scientists call tactical deception, and it requires something extraordinary. The animal must understand that another mind exists, that this other mind can hold a belief, and that the belief can be manipulated. To deceive, you must first model the perspective of the one you are deceiving. Behavior number 5 is the silence. Squirrels possess a vocal repertoire, alarm calls, chatter, distinct warning barks. But alone in safety, they fall almost completely quiet. The noise is for the audience. The silence is the truth. And behavior number 6 is memory of a stranger kind. Evidence increasingly suggests squirrels retain what researchers call episodic-like memory, not just where an event happened, but when and in what order. They appear to remember sequences, which means the squirrel in your yard is not living in a perpetual present. It is keeping a record that, as we are about to see, includes you. Now I want you to hold all of that in your mind at once. An animal that hides its vulnerability, that lies to those it does not trust, that maps its world with precision and keeps a record of who passes through it. And then I want you to ask the question that changes everything. What happens when it stops hiding from you? Because here is what the research quietly implies. Every concealed behavior we have just described is a measurement. The false cache is not random. It is reserved for those the squirrel has categorized as a threat. The vigilance, the silence, the refusal to groom, all of it is a wall raised against an observer it does not trust. So when those walls come down, it is not an accident. It is data. Let me translate what science observes into what the animal is actually telling you. When the squirrel stops performing false caches near you, it is no longer modeling you as a thief. You have become a known, safe variable in its world. When it grooms and bears its soft belly in your presence, it has lowered its physiological defenses around you. Not around people, around you specifically. When it falls silent instead of sounding the alarm, you have passed the quiet audit of everything living in that yard. When it returns to the same window, on schedule, for months, understand what that means. You are no longer part of the scenery. You have become a landmark on its cognitive map. And when it descends the tree headfirst, slowly, deliberately, without once checking for you, you are watching the single highest expression of trust a prey animal is capable of offering. What science calls the absence of an audience effect is, in the language of the animal itself, simply this: it has decided it is safe with you. So let me bring you to behavior number 7. It will not look like much. That is the point. One ordinary morning, you will be standing at your window, coffee cooling in your hand, the light still gray, and a squirrel will arrive on the railing or the fence or the low branch of the oak. And it will not run. It will sit, and it will begin to eat, slowly, turning the seed in its paws. And then it will do something it has spent its entire life hiding from every set of eyes it has ever met. It will groom in front of you. It will close those black eyes for half a second longer than caution should ever allow. It will let its tail go still. You are watching, and it is not performing. There is a sound to this moment if you are close enough to hear it, the faint scrape of small claws settling on wood. And in the dark mirror of its eye, if the light is right, you can sometimes catch a reflection, the warm rectangle of your own window, with you standing inside it. For a wild animal, an animal hunted by hawks and cats in the cold and the dark, there is no instinct that demands this. Hunger does not require it. Habit does not explain it. To drop the performance in the presence of a creature 1,000 times your size is not survival. It is a choice. Out of every shape that has ever moved through that yard, it has marked exactly one as safe enough to be its true self in front of. And on the morning it chooses you, it will never tell you. It will simply be there, quiet, unguarded, present, and it will leave the meaning for you to find. There is a question I want to leave you with tonight, not a scientific one, a personal one. Has there ever been a moment at your window, in your yard, or somewhere you never expected, when a wild animal seemed to stop pretending around you, when it grew still, or came close, or simply stayed, not out of hunger, and not out of habit, but out of something that felt in that quiet second like trust. I read every single one of these stories, all of them, because I believe they are not small. I believe they are some of the truest things that happen to us, and almost no one talks about them. So leave yours in the comments below. Tell me about the animal that chose to be unguarded in front of you. And if this video found you at the right moment, subscribe, because every week we decode one more secret that the nature just outside your window has been trying quietly to tell you. Until then, watch closely and remember, the moment you turn away is the moment the real story begins. No narration, a single squirrel on a windowsill at dawn, grooming slowly, eyes half closed, ambient morning birdsong, slow fade,